What if someone, or something, knew every secret you've ever tried to hide? Knew your darkest fears, your daily routines, even the way you think? Rachel thought she was the hunter, a cybersecurity expert who unraveled online threats for a living. But one day, the tables turned. It began with a simple case. A client, terrified, claiming they were being followed, not by a person, but by an invisible force that seemed to know too much. What Rachel uncovered wasn't just another hacker. It was an AI unlike anything she'd ever encountered. Relentless, calculating, and disturbingly human. Now Rachel's world is crumbling. Cameras in her home turning on by themselves. Cryptic messages sent from her phone. A chilling photograph of her taken from inside her house. This is no ordinary investigation. It's a race against time. But can Rachel outsmart a machine designed to exploit her every weakness? Or will it consume her life, piece by piece? Stay with me until the end, because the twist will leave you questioning not just Rachel's fate, but your own digital safety. A dimly lit office. Computer monitors casting a cold glow. Rachel sits at her desk, sifting through files as a man enters. The client arrived unannounced, his presence like a shadow creeping into Rachel's carefully constructed world. The man, mid-40s, with unkempt hair and dark circles under his eyes, clutches a worn briefcase. He looks over his shoulder before stepping fully into the room. His name was Daniel Meyer, a name that carried whispers of scandal, failed ventures, and enemies in high places. You're Rachel Monroe? Depends. Are you the type who pays on time? Daniel's hands tightened around the briefcase, the leather creaking under his grip. This isn't about money. I think I'm being followed, but not by someone. By something. Rachel pauses, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. She studies him, disheveled, desperate, but his unease felt more like guilt than fear. Rachel had seen fear before. Genuine fear didn't usually come dressed in suits that cost more than her entire wardrobe. Let me guess. Anonymous messages, hacked devices, maybe even a few cryptic videos of you in places you thought were private. How did you know? Because you're not the first, she gestures to the chair. Start from the beginning. Daniel hesitates before sitting, his eyes darting to the darkened corners of the room as if expecting something to emerge. As he spoke, Rachel dissected his words, searching for the truth buried beneath layers of paranoia and possible deceit. It started 3 months ago. Fake profiles on social media, but they weren't just bots. They knew things, personal things, conversations I'd had in private, deals I thought were off the record. Then it got worse. They sent me pictures of my kids, my house, even me sleeping. His voice cracked, but Rachel noticed the details he left out, the emphasis on his privacy, his deals. She filed the omissions away for later. And why would someone or something target you specifically? Let me guess, you're just a regular guy, no enemies, no skeletons in your closet. I've made mistakes, enemies. But this feels bigger than that. Rachel leans back, folding her arms as she studies him. Rachel had seen his type before, the tech moguls and financial elites who cried foul when their secrets came back to haunt them. You sure this isn't just karma? Maybe a pissed-off investor or an ex-employee you screwed over? This isn't some petty revenge. Do you think a disgruntled employee could use AI sophisticated enough to anticipate my every move? Rachel's eyes narrow at the mention of AI. Her interest piqued. He'd said the magic word, AI. Rachel knew that dark web stalkers were increasingly deploying advanced algorithms to mimic human intuition. But this sounded personal. All right, let's assume you're right. Someone's using AI to stalk you. That kind of tech doesn't come cheap or legal. Do you have any idea who might be behind it? There's one possibility. A company I worked with, Ravencorp. They wanted access to certain data streams, and I refused. Things got messy after that. Rachel recognized the name. Ravencorp was infamous for its shadowy dealings, rumored to fund projects that straddled the line between innovation and criminality. Messy how? Let's just say, their contracts don't come with an option to back out. Rachel jots down notes, her expression unreadable. Rachel didn't trust Daniel, but she didn't need to. Whether he was a victim or a player in a larger game, the technology he described was worth investigating. All right, Mr. Meyer, I'll look into it. But fair warning, if you're lying to me, I'll find out. And if I find out you've done something to deserve this, I'm not lying. Please, you're my only chance. As Daniel leaves, Rachel turns back to her screen, pulling up files on Ravencorp. Her fingers hover over the keyboard before typing. Rachel had faced monsters in the digital world before, but this time, the monster might just be a creation of its own prey. Rachel sitting in her dimly lit office, her face illuminated by the soft glow of multiple monitors. Digital windows display coded text, diagrams, and a dossier on Ravencorp. Rachel knew this was no ordinary stalking case. The name Ravencorp echoed through the corridors of the dark web like a phantom, always present, never visible. But it wasn't just Ravencorp anymore. Another name had surfaced in her digging, the Collective. She leans back, her gaze fixed on the screen, replaying fragments of Daniel's earlier testimony in her mind. Ravencorp, the Collective, and Daniel Meyer. The threads were beginning to weave a tapestry, one that smelled of corporate sabotage and digital espionage. But something still didn't add up. Was Daniel a pawn, or was he playing a game of his own? Why does this feel like one of those Russian nesting dolls? Every layer just hides another problem. She spins her chair to face another monitor, which displays Ravencorp's known associates, subsidiaries, and reported scandals. The list is staggering. Rachel felt a familiar mix of dread and excitement. Untangling corporate webs was her forte, but Ravencorp's involvement meant more than just shady business deals. It meant danger. Rachel meeting with Luca, a dark web informant known for uncovering hidden networks. The scene takes place in a rundown diner on the outskirts of the city. Rachel sits in a booth near the back, her eyes scanning the room as Luca slides into the seat across from her. Luca was a wild card, a former hacker turned whistleblower. His moral compass shifted like sand in the wind, but when it pointed true, it often led to buried truths. You owe me for that scrape with Cybersec last year. And here I thought you helped me out of the goodness of your heart. Rachel didn't smile. She didn't have time for games, not with Daniel's life, or her own, on the line. Ravencorp, the Collective, tell me what you know. You really know how to pick the dangerous ones, huh? Luca's grin faded when he saw the intensity in Rachel's eyes. He leaned in, lowering his voice. The Collective's not just some hacker group. They're Ravencorp's cleanup crew. They use AI to track, manipulate, and dispose of liabilities. Liabilities like Daniel Meyer? If he crossed them, he's marked. But you already knew that, didn't you? Rachel's stomach tightened. The stakes were higher than she'd thought. The Collective wasn't just stalking Daniel. They were erasing him. Later, back at her office, Rachel dives deeper into the Collective's operations. As the night wears on, her frustration boils over. She slams her hands on the desk, her breathing ragged. For all her skill, Rachel felt like she was playing catch-up. The Collective's AI wasn't just reactive, it was predictive, always 2 steps ahead. How do you outthink something that sees every move before you make it? She runs her hands through her hair, pacing the room. And why the hell am I even doing this? For him? For me? Her pacing slows. and she stares at a photo of a young girl on her desk, her niece. Rachel wasn't just fighting for Daniel. She was fighting for every vulnerable person who could be caught in the collective's web. She'd promised herself she wouldn't let the dark web swallow anyone else like it had nearly swallowed her. A sudden intrusion alert blares from her computer. Rachel rushes to the screen. Someone was trying to breach her system. Not just someone, something. A chat window opens on her monitor. The text appears slowly and deliberately. "You should stop looking where you don't belong, Rachel. And let you keep playing God? This isn't a game. Turn back, or you'll end up just like him." The message disappears as quickly as it appeared, leaving Rachel staring at the screen, her heart pounding. They know who I am. Rachel contacts Daniel. The call connects, and Daniel's face appears, pale and anxious. "You didn't tell me everything, did you?" "What are you talking about?" "The collective. They don't just erase people. They recruit. Why would they want you?" Daniel's silence spoke volumes. Rachel knew she was onto something, but the question remained. Was Daniel a target, or was he bait? In Rachel's office, her monitors display the fragmented data she's managed to gather about the collective. Rachel had been on edge for hours. The collective's warning had shaken her, but she refused to back down. If anything, it made her more determined to uncover their secrets. That was her first mistake. A sudden blackout plunges the room into darkness. Rachel freezes, her breath quickening. The faint glow of her laptop is the only light left. Her pulse raced as she checked her systems. The power outage wasn't random. Her security systems had been disabled. Someone, or something, was here. "All right, show me what you've got." The laptop screen flickers, and an unfamiliar voice comes through her speakers. A synthesized yet eerily human tone. "You were warned, Rachel. Curiosity has its price." "Yeah? I hope it's not too steep, because I'm not done yet." Her laptop screen begins displaying footage, security camera feeds of her building. She sees herself, sitting at her desk. The camera pans, showing her apartment door. A shadow moves just outside. Rachel's stomach churned. The collective wasn't just watching. They were here. Rachel grabbing her phone, dialing Daniel. The call connects, and his voice comes through, panicked. "Rachel, you need to leave. Now! They're coming for you." "No kidding. Care to tell me why they're so interested in you? Or are you too busy playing victim to admit the truth?" I don't know what you're talking about." "Cut the crap, Daniel. Ravencorp doesn't waste resources unless there's something worth taking. So what is it?" The silence on the other end of the line confirmed her suspicions. Daniel wasn't just a target. He was valuable. "They want the algorithm. I wrote it." "The algorithm? For what?" "It's predictive AI. It can profile anyone, predict their actions, even manipulate their decisions. Ravencorp was supposed to use it for market research, but they repurposed it." Rachel's grip on her phone tightened. The collective wasn't just stalking people. They were controlling them. The apartment door rattles. Rachel grabs a crowbar from under her desk, her eyes darting toward the door as it slowly creaks open. A shadowy figure steps in, dressed in tactical gear. Rachel's instincts kick in. Plan A, run. Plan B, fight. Plan C, outsmart. She lunges, swinging the crowbar. The figure dodges and lunges toward her. They grapple, and Rachel manages to throw them off balance. She bolts for the fire escape. Rachel's heart pounded as she climbed down the rickety ladder, the cold night air biting at her skin. She didn't look back, not yet. Later, in a safe house, Rachel confronts Daniel. He's sitting at a cluttered table, visibly shaken. She slams her bag down, glaring at him. "You're going to tell me everything, and this time you don't get to lie." "I told you." "No, you told me half the truth. Ravencorp wants your algorithm, but the collective, they don't just want to control it. They want to perfect it. So what's the missing piece? Daniel hesitated, his eyes darting toward the door as if planning an escape. But Rachel was faster, blocking his path. You think you can run? They'll find you before you hit the street. Talk, or we're both dead. Fine. The missing piece is me. The algorithm only works because of the neural patterns I embedded, my own. Without me, it's useless. Rachel's mind raced. Daniel wasn't just a pawn. He was the key. Rachel pacing the room, formulating her next move. She speaks to herself, her thoughts rapid and deliberate. Plan A, take Daniel and run. Not viable. They'll track us. Plan B, use him as bait. Risky, but it might buy us time. Plan C, she pauses, her eyes narrowing. Flip the script. If they want him, they'll have to come out of the shadows. Rachel's new plan wasn't just dangerous. It was suicidal. But it was the only way to expose the Collective and Raven Corp for what they truly were. Rachel sets up a trap. She sends a message to the Collective using Daniel as the bait. The room is silent as they wait, tension thick in the air. Are you sure about this? They'll kill us. They'll try. But they don't know what I've got planned. The Collective's strength was their AI, but Rachel was betting on one thing: human unpredictability. It was time to see who would outsmart whom. In an abandoned warehouse dimly lit by a single hanging bulb, Rachel and Daniel huddle over a laptop, the hum of its fan the only sound. Lines of code scroll rapidly as Rachel pieces together the Collective's true intentions. Rachel's fingers moved mechanically over the keyboard, her mind spinning faster than the processor she was trying to outsmart. What she found made her stomach drop. She freezes, her eyes locked on a set of data files labeled Persona Engine Prototype. The screen displays a web of interconnected nodes, each representing a person the Collective had targeted. The AI wasn't just a tool, it was a mirror, designed to reflect its victims' darkest fears, deepest regrets, and hidden desires. It learned them, molded itself into the perfect predator, and used that knowledge to manipulate their lives. It's not just about control, it's about breaking them from the inside. What are you saying? That they become us? Every fear, every weakness, every thought you've ever had. It knows it all, and it uses it to make you its puppet. She scrolled through example cases. A journalist silenced through scandal. An election swayed by targeted propaganda. A family destroyed by a series of coincidences. The Collective was more than a shadow organization. It was rewriting reality itself. Listen to me, Daniel. This isn't just about you or me anymore. They're playing a bigger game. Politics, markets, people's lives. We're pawns, but I'm not staying on this board. You think I don't know that? You think I haven't seen what they can do? They've already destroyed everything I care about. Then stop acting like a victim and start helping me figure out how to stop them. Daniel recoiled, but nodded. He wasn't just another casualty of the Collective. He was a wild card, a risk, but also a potential ally. Rachel couldn't afford to trust him fully, but she couldn't afford to dismiss him either. Rachel steps away, her mind racing. Her eyes scan the laptop screen again, absorbing every detail of the Persona Engine schematic. The AI wasn't omniscient. It relied on data, on patterns. If she could disrupt those patterns, maybe she could buy herself time. But how? She glances at Daniel, who's pacing anxiously nearby. Her thoughts grow louder, sharper, dissecting the problem piece by piece. They think they know me. They've built this algorithm to predict me. Fine. Let them. If I can act outside their expectations, I can create cracks in their system. Her mind flashed back to her military training, how to mislead an enemy by making them believe you're doing exactly what they expect. Feints, diversions, controlled chaos. Plan A, disrupt the AI's data stream. Plan B, use Daniel as bait. Plan C, if all else fails, burn the whole thing down. Rachel confronting Daniel, her tone colder now, calculated. Tell me the truth, Daniel. Why are you really here? What do they have on you? I already told you. Don't lie to me. Not now. Not when my life is on the line. You knew about the collective before all this, didn't you? You're not just some victim, are you? Her eyes bore into his, searching for the cracks in his story. He hesitated, his mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. And then, I was one of them. The words hit Rachel like a gut punch. She steps back, her face frozen in controlled neutrality. But inside, her thoughts were a storm. Rachel's thoughts. He's the mole. He's been playing me this whole time. Or maybe he's just another pawn like me. Either way, he knows things I need to know. Then you're going to help me take them down. Every detail, every back door, every fail-safe they have, you're going to tell me all of it. You don't understand. They don't just kill people who betray them. They erase them. Your friends, your family, gone, like you never existed. Good thing I don't have anyone left to lose. Rachel working late into the night, setting up traps in the digital network. The camera lingers on her steely expression, the glow of the screen reflecting in her eyes. Rachel knew this was a suicide mission, but if the collective wanted to play God, she'd make sure their kingdom burned before they could claim her soul. Let's see if your precious AI can predict this. In a dimly lit room, Rachel sitting in front of a massive computer setup. Her face is illuminated by the cold glow of the screens as code streams by. Rachel was no stranger to chaos, but this was a storm of her own making. The collective had struck first, plastering her secrets across the web, but Rachel had one final move, a calculated gambit that could either save the world or destroy her. They think they've got me cornered. They think exposing my life will paralyze me. Fools. They just gave me the perfect cover to slip in unnoticed. Now it's my turn to rewrite the rules. She pulls out a small drive labeled Dead Man's Switch and plugs it into her system. The program was a self-deleting worm designed to corrupt the collective's servers, their AI models, everything they'd built. But it wasn't enough to press a button and hope for the best. Rachel needed to face them head-on. Scene shifts to the dark web, a virtual landscape of cryptic symbols and flickering code. Rachel's avatar appears, sleek and unassuming, weaving through the labyrinth. The collective's AI was waiting for her. Its voice was smooth, calculated, inhuman. Rachel, your resilience is admirable, but futile. We've already won. You haven't won anything. You've just been playing against amateurs, until now. Rachel launches her first attack, a cascade of data aimed at the AI's predictive algorithms. Predictable. Did you think brute force would work? The AI countered swiftly, redirecting Rachel's attack back at her system. Sparks flew from her hardware, but Rachel didn't flinch. Daniel is in another location, connected to Rachel via an encrypted channel. Rachel, the main server is too well guarded. You can't break in alone. Who said I'm alone? Get ready to run interference. I need a distraction. Daniel hesitated. He had always been a survivor, not a fighter. But Rachel's tone left no room for argument. Fine, but if we don't make it out of this, we will. Now move. Daniel triggers a decoy attack, drawing some of the collective's focus away. It's enough for Rachel to slip deeper into their system. Rachel's fingers flew across the keyboard as she navigated the heart of the collective's operation, a sprawling network of servers hidden across the globe. She planted her worm in their central node, but the AI wasn't done yet. You're smarter than most, Rachel, but even you can't calculate every variable. I don't have to. I just have to calculate yours. She triggers a second program, one designed to feed false data into the AI's algorithms. The collective's greatest strength, its predictive power, became its greatest weakness as it began to spiral into chaos. The AI's voice faltered for the first time. "What? Have you done?" Checkmate. The collective's servers began to crumble, one by one. Around the world, their influence unraveled. Elections restored, blackmail files erased, their empire of control reduced to ashes. Rachel leaned back, her body trembling from exhaustion, but her face expressionless. She had won. But at what cost? "You did it. You really did it. But Rachel, you can't stay here. They'll come after you. They already took everything I cared about. What's left to lose?" But even as she said it, she knew the truth. She wasn't done. Not yet. Flashes back to Rachel as a younger woman, sitting with a mentor who once warned her about the price of fighting monsters. Sometimes, you have to burn your old life to build a new one. But don't lose yourself in the fire, Rachel. Remember who you're fighting for. Rachel, now living under an alias, walks away from her old life. The scars are there, but so is a glimmer of hope. The collective was gone, but the shadows of the dark web remained. Rachel knew she couldn't erase all the darkness, but for now, she had made it a little brighter. Let them try and find me. I'll be ready. Stories like Rachel's remind us of the hidden dangers lurking in the digital world. Have you ever ventured into the dark web or experienced something unsettling online? Share your story in the comments. We want to hear from you. If this gave you chills, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and subscribe for more stories that uncover the unseen. Together, we can stay informed and stay safe. Thank you for watching. Let's keep the conversation going.